Hi, I'm Anthony Orr, ITIL author and examiner. Today I'm going to talk to you about the do's and don'ts of change management. In a recent IDC report, it states the average hourly cost of an infrastructure failure is $100,000 per hour. Wow, unbelievable, per hour. 80% of those failures aren't caused by the hardware itself, but rather a person following a process. People are key to effective change management. A breakdown of process or lack of process causes these type of issues. Before we get into the do's and don'ts, let's define change management. Of course, that's the ITIL definition, but let's look at it a little bit more closer. Change management is really about coordinating and collaborating resources, especially people across the organization related to a change that's getting ready to happen. Making sure the people are ready, the technology is ready, the process is ready, so we can be effective and efficient with the delivery and support of the service that's getting ready to go into production. Change management has an element of risk, which I mentioned earlier. We got to make sure we do the right things on behalf of the business. And then change management has an element of knowledge, that we got to make sure people have the right knowledge as it relates to the change. So if you define change management, think of those aspects of change management, not just the ITIL definition that you read in the book. Why is this important? Why is change management important? First, for operational excellence. A lot of times people and organizations, they focus on doing a lot of things instead of the right things. Change management helps us really focus on doing the right things at the end of the day as it relates to supporting the business strategy. Management of risk. Managing change is really about managing risk. If you have a change that's going into the environment that doesn't add business value, that's a risk to the organization. That's a risk to the financial resources and what the people do, and overall, your customer's perspective of what the business is really all about. So we want to manage risk related to changes. And then we want to support the overall strategy of the business as it relates to changes. So the change manager, that role itself, has to understand the direction the business is going in and the outcomes that we expect from services within our environment. Whether the service is new, whether the service is being changed, or even if the service is being retired from our environment. So let's talk about the do's and the don'ts related to change management. One important aspect that I sort of hinted at earlier is do coordinate and collaborate change management efforts across the organization. Make sure all stakeholders are aware of the change, your customers are aware, the users, and the business itself. It's very important that we have sort of coordinated and collaborative effort related to change management. Next, don't overlook the role of people. People are very important within the change management process. Sometimes people are against change. They don't want the change to happen because they don't understand it. But we have to get coordination and collaboration from them. They are very key in the overall delivery of services. When you think about the aspects that we talk about from an ITSM perspective, people, process, technology, and suppliers, what actually happens there is technology supports process, process support what people do, and people are the key to delivery and support of services. So we got to make sure the people are on board and not just compliant to the change management process, but compassionate about it and really believe in it so they do the right things. Next, do know your inventory. And what do I mean by that? Understand the capabilities and resources you have within your organization. One way of articulating this is through the CMDB, the Configuration Management Database, and the Configuration Management System, CMS itself, and the SKMS. Those things follow or should follow a service model on how your services are delivered. And the services, what underpins those is your capabilities and resources, the infrastructure, the people, and everything else. So you can understand the impact of change in one area and how you should manage it across the entire life cycle. The next thing, don't introduce too much change at once. There's a rhythm to change within the organization, to your customers. Sometimes your customers can't accept too much change. If you told your customers, say, I'm gonna change your application every month, and they had to update it or test it, they probably couldn't do that. They may tell you, we can't take that much change at one time. Can you save all those updates, do them twice a year or once a year so we can consume them correctly? Have you ever used the app that every time you use the app, it said there's an update available, and you start ignoring it because like, oh gee, why have to update the app again? Seems like it's functioning fine, So really understand your customers and the organization as relates to change. One other key do, and this is very, very important, do communicate. Communicate to everybody in the organization that needs to know about the change. There's something in change management called a forward schedule of change. That's actually a communication vehicle for communicating changes, so people know that they're getting ready to happen, they're prepared for them, and so forth. So make sure you communicate what's going on. Nothing's worse than having something change and you didn't know anything about it. That causes incidents. People start looking for errors in IT infrastructure. It's just a disruption to business at the end of the day. Next, don't think about change in a silo. Change management does not work by itself. Change is a coordination and collaborative process that needs to work with release and deployment, for example. And release and deployment is actually going to build, implement, and test the change. And it also needs to work with knowledge management for collecting, knowledge artifacts and data and information related to the change. It needs to work with service asset and configuration management, and really across other lifecycle components as it relates to even communicating the change and make sure that we're working as one organization related to change. Which gets me to my next point. Do change management from a service-orientated perspective. Don't do changes in silo. Remember, you're one company. Things are interrelated within the company. The technology is interrelated. People are interrelated. They have different capabilities. Sometimes processes are interrelated across different functions. Make sure that you manage change from a service-oriented perspective, which is looking at the service and how it impacts your customers and the things that underpin that service and the relationships of those things underneath the service that may support other services. The last don't for you, don't pick technology that doesn't support this holistic perspective related to how change management works. Make sure change management integrates with other process areas and other technologies within your organization. Don't just look at change management in a silo and you just have a solution for managing change, but it should be more of an IT service management solution for managing change across the life cycle. Last thoughts, change management, very, very important process. It's one of those, what I call primary processes within IT service management. Change management affects strategy, it affects design, it affects transition, affects operation, it affects everything. Make sure you're managing change and not just doing change approvals. And that's what I see a lot in a lot of organizations. They just approve changes and do what we call throw it over the fence, And that's not the right behavior to have in an organization that should be working as one team related to services that they support and deliver.